Hello everyone, welcome back to Random English. Today we have a useful tip that will help you speak English a little bit better. Hi, I'm Julia and this is Random English, and today I'm going to give you some ideas on what to do if you forgot a word when speaking English. Tip number 1. If you forgot a word, try to paraphrase your sentence or use a synonym. For example, if you forget the word suitcase, you can easily use the word bag instead of it. If you forgot the word freezing, you can simply say very, very cold. Of course, sometimes you will not get a sentence that is as beautiful as you would like, but you would express your main idea. Tip number 2, use gestures. One of my students once told me a story of how they traveled to China without speaking any Chinese. And they wanted to go to a restaurant by taxi. Their taxi driver spoke no English, but they used gestures to show him what they wanted, and he took them to a very nice restaurant nearby. In many simple real-life situations, like when you're shopping or eating out in a restaurant or cafe, you can use gestures instead of words if you forgot something. Like you can point and show, could you please give me this, if you don't know the name of the object or food that you would like to get. Of course, sometimes it's not very polite, but if you really need to buy or order something and forget the word, using gestures is quite okay. Tip number 3. Have an electronic dictionary with you. For example, you can have Google Translate in your phone, and I think it can be used without the internet, but you need to check that, sorry. And again, let me tell you a story. Once I was on a business trip with my boss at the time, and we were traveling in Italy by car, and we actually got lost looking for parking. I mean, we had a map, of course, again, GPS, electronic maps, but somehow with all these small streets and narrow passages, we couldn't really find our way. And a couple was driving by, and they saw that we were lost, and they stopped to help us. But the couple only spoke Italian, no English, and nobody from our group knew any Italian. But we just took out a phone. I typed, I don't remember the exact words, but I typed our situation, like we're lost looking for a parking lot or something like that. The app translated it into Italian. I don't know, maybe it was not perfect Italian, but it was enough for the couple to understand what we need and to help us. Again, of course, you can't do that always. Sometimes there is no internet, or the app doesn't translate what you want to say very well. But again, if you need to communicate something, for example, in our situation, we were lost and we really needed help, and using an electronic dictionary was enough to improve our situation. So it can be a strategy to use sometimes when you forget some English words. Tip number 4. Use phrases like just a moment, let me think, I'm sorry I forgot this word, and so on. First of all, when you say something like let me think, it actually gives you time to think. Of course, it's just a couple of seconds, but it may be enough for your brain to remember the word you have forgotten. Sometimes it happens to me even in my native language. I forget a word and I may need a second to remember it, some specific terms or whatever. And also if you say like, I'm sorry, give me a second to remember this word. It will allow the person you are talking to understand that you're having a little problem, English is not your native language, and you just need a second to remember the word. And this person will understand and just wait for you to remember, or maybe actually help you out with some ideas. Again, it's not a strategy that you can use all the time. Again, cat noises, sorry. It's not a strategy that you can use all the time, but sometimes when you forget a word and need a second to remember it, using polite phrases will help you. Tip number 5 is to use another language, maybe your native language or another foreign language that you know. I know it may sound a bit strange, but this strategy sometimes can be also useful when you are trying to communicate something. Maybe you forgot a word, or maybe the person you're talking to doesn't understand you. It once happened to me when I was talking to someone in English, talking about my dad's job, who is a lawyer, and this person didn't know the word lawyer, and I wasn't sure that I could explain this job very well, but then I was like thinking what I can do and like thinking out loud, and I used the Russian word for the same job, which is wow, extreme cat noises, sorry. So I used the Russian word for this job. If you're Russian, you know what it is. For my other viewers there, the Russian word is advokat. And the word in this person's language, I think this person's language was, this person's native language was Italian. Not 100% sure. But the word in their language was not similar to lawyer, but it was similar to the Russian word advokat. And when I used the Russian word, they understood me. So, of course, this is a strategy that doesn't work in 100% of situations. Not all languages have like, similar words between them, but sometimes it's something that you can try to communicate your ideas. In conclusion, I'd like to say that the main idea here is to communicate your message, to say what you want to say, buy what you want to buy if you're shopping, get help if you need help when you are abroad, and so on. The main idea is communication, putting your ideas across. And I know that sometimes people say, my students have said it to me, that they don't want to make mistakes, or they don't want to sound primitive, or they want to use only correct language and only long beautiful sentences, whatever. But imagine that on the one hand you have speaking beautifully, which you can't do if you forgot some words, for example. On the other hand, you have getting what you want, especially if we speak about getting help. So what I'm trying to say is that don't be shy, don't be afraid to make mistakes, say simple sentences, use gestures, whatever, because the main idea is to communicate, and with practice, with learning, and with other strategies that we'll discuss here in the future, you will start speaking better and more beautifully. But the main idea, especially at first, is to communicate, to say what you want. And if you forgot some useful word or phrase in English, the strategies from this video will help you. Well, that's it for this video. I'm sorry if any of the stories were too long or maybe not very clear. If something wasn't clear, put your questions down below in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Random English for future videos to practice listening and to give you some useful advice on learning English. I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you around in the future. Bye bye.